Just doing a little evening live stream here. Hope everybody's doing well. Doing good, doing good. All right. We got a fun little chat tonight talking about AI search. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. If you're joining me, let me know where from, because we're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Facebook. I mean, really everywhere right now. But I'll get started in just a minute. Hope everybody's having a good evening. It's Arizona, it's 5:45 right now. I don't know what time it is where you are, but hopefully you're through some of your workday. And I typically like to spend time with people that are looking at how to build great impact inside a business. So if that's you, you're here. And you'll scroll for that. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing here. Let's see, on Instagram, it's a little interesting because we're not as like, Instagram is, I'm testing something out as well. And, well, it works for the close-up on Instagram. So I will, well, heck with it. I'll just go live anyway with Instagram. They're going to see the wide camera. Actually, you know what? I could probably, let's see, I can move over a little bit for Instagram and solve for it. Instagram, say hi. I'm sorry, you guys are portrait. Everyone else is is in the widescreen. So hopefully that helps. There we go. All right, and let's go check TikTok. TikTok is going to be fun. And let's see, am I live on TikTok? I don't see. Let's see if I even pushed to TikTok. We're talking about AI search. So this is going to be, I'm going to stop that. We're talking about AI search and how that's changing how you get customers and interact and get discovered across the web. So put a comment, say hello that you're here. And I should be able to see that here in this platform. I've got a pretty cool setup here that's going to allow me to do this. So I'll get started here. I'm in no rush. So if you're here, hang out. Let me know what your thoughts are around AI search. Are you getting overviews right now? Are you doing search on the web through AI overviews? All right, so let's talk about the customer, right? So customers today are doing their searches in many different ways. Some of those are happening in voice. Some of them are happening in transcription, text to speech, all that stuff. I'm going to go here. My team's gone, so it's just me, which is fine. But let's go a little more closer on this one so we can get clarity around this. So there's a lot of movement right now in AI, right? In the way that people are discovering information online. Now, we've talked about, and I've posted about this before, around when I was at the TED AI conference up in the Bay Area. I had the opportunity to hear firsthand from the founder of Perplexity, and his vision opened that TED Talk with the idea that Google had when it launched, which was all the world's information, which meant collect information, index information, and let others discover it. SEO, search engine optimization, rankings, page rank. We've seen it all. And then ultimately Google My Business, and then Google Business Profile, and Google Maps, and thinking about the customer expectations through all those journeys around how that changed over time is pretty fascinating. And it's been mostly about links and sending you links to websites where humans look at the page and make decisions on brand, right? And is that content there, and is that information there? And the relevancy to that search is how you sort of managed where you would show up on page 1 or page 1300. But now, the founder of Perplexity, his vision was like, well, if Google was all the world's information, AI is all the world's answers. So people are looking for answers to the questions that they're asking online, and oftentimes they're getting those answers before they even get to your website. So you got to start thinking about if generative, and Google has SGE, Search Generative Experience, and so if SGE is about providing a great answer and a great trust to a concise answer to the questions users have in search with AI overviews, then it stands to say we need to be not controlling, but creating the narrative, creating the answer we think our ideal customers are going to ask, right? So a lot of what I'm sharing with you came out of group 1 of our beta program under the Multifamily Innovation Council. We ended up developing a product called Contivo.ai that actually solves for that. So a lot of times you think about, we want our properties to be differentiated amongst all the other properties, but if we're using the same tools everyone else is using, or the same words everyone else is using, then you're not differentiating yourself in that experience. So I want you to start thinking about that as like the purpose of a brand, right? The purpose of a company is to differentiate, right? So we get the right people, and we want to differentiate amongst everyone else, stand out, cut through the noise, be unique, and your ability to attract employees into the organization and deploy them in such a way that they understand that they're creating a unique experience, a memorable experience where we leave people feeling a certain way when they leave. That's useful, that's productive, and we want to reward those employees, right? The problem that exists today is AI is creeping into all software, and everyone's trying to summarize information and summarize words, and everything's starting to look the same, right? So these in-person experiences, even like in-person events or in-person tours, if you're at a property, would even be valuable because it can be trusted and understood. So as we move through this dynamic, it's a real opportunity. And what I want you to do is I want you to back up for a minute and pull back the lens and think about where we've been, right? We've been a long way in terms of the internet, where we had magazine sites, magazines, actually print magazines that showcase properties, and you wanted to be a right read and, you know, all that full page, front page, all that stuff. And the internet just took that and put it online. At least that's the process we took. And then you end up with ILSs and indexes. But what's important about that is apartment owners and managers and many other businesses, they allowed other businesses to have control over the narrative, the presentation, even the priority of how they did that. So early on in the internet days, properties were not actually building their own websites early on because you had to get a developer, you had to get a coder, a designer, and a host, and you had to kind of pull all those pieces together. And things have changed so much dynamically in how websites were created. But the challenge today is everyone's using the same thing. It's not unique. If you've got website templates are great, especially if you have a large portfolio, for sure. But what shouldn't be the same is the messaging, the copy, the words, and how you make people feel, right? So, but what we did is we allowed others to own the conversation. And right now in search, what happens is OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google, Bing, all these companies that are providing answers to users through search are fighting out who's going to move in that area, right? So you think about Google Chrome being disrupted now, ChatGPT coming up with its own browser, Perplexity the same way, and this is going to serve like an operating system similar to how what we saw with the App Store being every day you're in the App Store, I guarantee it. So these windows of which we've counted on like Safari and Chrome for many years just is now getting disrupted. Now, don't underestimate Google. Certainly don't underestimate Google. But what it means is the search experience is changing, and we don't want to just let others take control of that. We want to be independent, and we want to leverage our ILSs because those are actually valuable platforms to be on right now. The reason for that is the way AI search works is they're going to go with relevancy, and they're going to go with what's trusted and authoritative. And for years, you have all the indexed pages and links from those authoritative sites because all the properties built that up for them. You created value there, right? So now it's a disadvantage because you're kind of being sold back that attention. But there's an opportunity now to not turn over that attention through AI search. And that's up to you. Either do nothing, wait, and then pay high advertising costs, or rely on that. But you can't really always control the narratives or the messaging or the content or the format in a place where you're renting attention instead of providing answers. So I want you to think about that because, the hotel industry, Larry Gorman is a person I respect highly. He has mentioned this inside the Multifamily Innovation Council before. And we talked about looking back at how even the hospitality and hotel industry did, these are smart people with a lot of coverage and a lot of assets in a lot of places, and they missed the opportunity to get out in front of demand. And when 9/11 hit, they were surprised because they weren't ready to own the online digital frictionless experience. And so companies like Expedia and Priceline and these types of programs stepped in to capture demand, and the hotels were happy short term because they filled units when the demand went to zero. So they were definitely happy to capture that, but long term was a real business problem. Millions, billions of dollars of value lost because someone didn't figure that out. What that means is for 2 decades they've been trying to get control of the customer relationship or ownership of the customer journey, and I don't know that it'll ever go back to the real asset owner or property owner, or at least that data. So it's important to know, like, we don't want to look the same, right? We don't want to look the same as everything else. And so why that matters even more today is you think about your website is in one place, right? Whereas your answer and your searchers are happening everywhere. But data right now, and I'm going to pull up a few slides here, you'll see here, Instagram can now be indexed in Google search. And when we think about value for a minute, you have a visual representation of an asset that's unique, right? So you have the ability to show community events, and you had a wine tasting, you had this barbecue, and you had this really cool event, or the rooftop view, or you have the ability to visually story tell to customers. Now, the good news is this is going to be indexed in search when people are asking for answers to those questions. So it could be an art museum, not even on property, and now you funneled the customer in, and like with Contivo.ai, if you're doing things like that, then you're pulling people into your attention, you're owning that customer relationship, lowering your advertising costs, right? And if 85% of buyers think and do research before they're ready to buy, by the time they've done that, you've created trust and credibility instead of links and rankings, right? And so it takes time. But let's look at this. So Google and Bing have officially indexing posts, photos, videos, and reels. And even with Contivo.ai, we're actually doing photos, videos, and reels and doing the copy that's unique to your brand, right? So you can take branded Instagram, IG content and focus and compete with news and all these other things that are getting indexed by these large language models. So when you're starting to optimize these posts in such a way that people that you want to draw in are attracted to, then you're inviting more growth and more opportunity to grow revenue into your business. So it's something to not underestimate. And you definitely want to get onto this, right? The other piece of this is we also have, let me go here to TikTok. TikTok also appearing in Google search, right? So if you're on TikTok, people are using TikTok as a search engine for experiences. I just recently went on vacation and we went to a few places that, because of a TikTok, we went to them. We drove 90 or about 60 minutes farther than we would have if we didn't see a TikTok. So we're talking about short form video content that, again, aligns with your SEO principles, but it's unique and different. And it can be exciting, and it can be the thing that doesn't look like everything else. Because everyone else is using ChatGPT and these large language models to write and stand out, but it's all looking the same. So you can use video to tell that story and do some really good stuff with that as well. And then, of course, YouTube, same thing. YouTube shorts and videos, long form, are appearing in search. I mean, obviously, everybody knows YouTube is owned by Google, right? You can even search in Google Lens, inside shorts around the thing, and it just has a massive reach. So you definitely want to be doing those things. But the problem is, it's hard to do these things, and these platforms reward consistency, right? They reward consistency, but if your employees are tasked to do all these different things, that's why we created through the Contivo.ai, we created the ability to not think about what to write, to use a voice AI agent to extract as a marketing consultant what's unique about your property, what's unique about your company, and from that conversation, get to the nuances of what's unique and different at each level. So now you have a custom AI avatar, AI agent, and an AI model that no one else has, that when you are creating this content, it's better because it's aligned to draw into the persona of the ideal customer that you want to draw in and also even repel. Great marketing repels as much as it attracts. People don't think about that. But again, it's about clarity. It's about cutting through the noise, not making more of it, right? And the only way to do that is through great messaging and great copywriting. Now with Contivo.ai, one of the things we have as that product is we have the ability to, at the core of it, have the understanding from a messaging standpoint. If you hired a marketing agency, they would know PR, they would know copywriting, they would know messaging, right? Hopefully they would know your brand, but not as good as you do or your employees do. And that's really where the magic is. Think of every human being in your organization as a narrow language model, data that's unstructured, that is in conversation and is valuable. When extracted and put into context for creating new content, you can do things other people can't do. And you just couldn't hire an agency to do that at every property. And that's what's really unique, is now you're generating from that, and every day you're getting new, researched, real-time, SEO-backed, AI answer engine optimization, written articles and content that is now seen on Snapchat, ChatGPT, or TikTok, Instagram stories, Instagram reels, YouTube video, YouTube shorts, right? You're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram. I already said Instagram. You're on, what else did I mean, you name all of them, right? Every day, as if you had a professional team writing that stuff. The thing is, that's the difficult part, is what to say. And then these things can be scheduled in draft mode, and now you have consistency and rhythm, which is what these platforms reward. Now, these platforms are really where your web presence is extending today, because, again, they're going back to them being in search, right? In YouTube, right? In TikTok and Instagram. So if that's where the conversations are happening, and those trusted sources with social proof and reviews and all that stuff, if you're creating content on those places, your website just started to get to more places. And if it's in more places, guess what's going to happen? And if it's in more places consistently, guess what's going to happen? People are going to go to another search engine, Google, all these, ChatGPT, Perplexity, you name it, or the new browsers, AI browsers, and they're going to ask for questions to be answered. And if your information's out there, that's going to be delivered, and you're going to increase trust, you're going to increase credibility, and you're going to be in control of that narrative, because they're generating answers, regardless if you're in it or not. You're just going to be invisible, if you're not creating the content. Now with Contivo.ai, we've actually created it in such a way that it's writing it in a way that AI answers need to be structured, concise with some data points, leading with the top question, bulleting lists, things like that. And it may be extending beyond your actual box, your product. It may be extended around things that customers may be interested in before they even think about, do they want a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or square footage, or even amenities. You see, property management companies, that's what they love talking about, is their products, their information. But what if we talked about the thing that the customer actually cared about? Like maybe they're moving to a district because there's a tax credit for making films in a certain district, right? Maybe they're relocating because of a technology job. I don't know. But enter the mind the customer has, or the conversation the customer's having, and you can do that through content, and we can do that at Trust. You're now creating good stuff. Another thing I want you to think about is, if you're creating these types of things that are very useful, and you're writing even about things in your community, I'm not talking about recipes and that stuff. That's like filler. That's like hallucinations in my mind right now, right? And you're probably paying for that, and you're probably paying for a system to distribute. But what you're not paying is for an AI agent that can extract by having a conversation with you, and extract that, put it into personas, put it into narratives, and then use that agent to then help write reviews, help write good copy, and then structure that differently on every platform, and then have it scheduled and distributed for less than probably what you're paying now, and you do it better, so you're not just using your sort of software system that everyone else is using, right? So that is what I believe the opportunity with things. And a couple of things that are not changing is emotional buyers, right? Emotions are priorities. People logically will justify an emotional decision, but knowing that when you're creating the copy, you're understanding that probably your customers have had a past pain point, right? They're moving away from something, moving into a desired state that they may not tell you. But if you can get into the hearts and minds of the people that you think are thinking about moving and renting an apartment, you can start to begin to think about every piece of content is knocking down an objection they may have. Like, this isn't for me. Oh, when I apply, I won't even hear back. If I call that number, no one's going to call me back. If I get into that chatbot, I don't have time. I'll wait for the scheduled tour. Won't even happen. So you start addressing those things in your copy. That's what the agents are trained to do when it writes for you with Contivo.ai. So it's thinking about things like, even in the copy, it's thinking about like, listen, finding an apartment can be horrifying. It can be hard. It can be frustrating. You don't know where to go. You don't know when the leasing agents are going to be there. Sometimes people don't follow up. You're applying for apartments and you don't even know if you're approved yet, right? You don't know all those things. And so when we're writing copy, we're validating the current state that customers might have been through. Maybe they've been through a bad management situation, you know? And we understand that leasing can be difficult. We understand that sometimes customers are moving, and they're moving because they had a challenge somewhere else. But here at this apartment community, that's not the case, because we have 24-hour this and this and that. And so you can get really good at this stuff, but the problem is employee turnover is so high, training is so high, and when someone develops this apartment from dirt, the vision was there, who they wanted to live there, how they wanted to show up, right, in the community. And they did events, they looked at employers, we looked at the likelihood to de-risk that development, got really clear even before the building was built of how this property would lease up. But what happens is management turnover and leadership changes. We've kind of lose the fabric of why even the apartment building was even built. So when you can scale that and manage locations within one application using Contivo.ai, having 200 properties with 200 different AI agents, 200 different Google business profile connections and Instagram and TikToks, and language models narrow enough to make each property unique in its own application and be able to manage approvals, look at the analytics, manage reviews, all that, then you have a competitive advantage, because you're going to perform on consistency, because you're not relying on your teams to think. We're doing the thinking for them, because you have control over that agent. You know what that agent's context is, right? And you can improve it over time. And new person comes in, new property, they're basically writing for them in draft mode, and you're saying, look at what was created by your essential AI agent team. This isn't a stack up against cost to a software technology. This is matched up to payroll. This is like, imagine X dollars a month, fixed costs per property, and not needing your teams to do these types of things. It's a pretty much a fundamental question to be asking. So it's exciting times to be thinking about how to create demand for companies. Sorry, Instagram, I'm kind of like off the edge there, so we'll have to figure that out next time. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I know that sometimes these things can be tricky to understand. It can feel like there's a lot going on. It can feel like there's a lot of noise. It can feel like everyone's saying, we're better than the other person. And I think that's something to think about, is at the end of the day, right, keep it real simple, right? We need to be able to connect with our customers in a way that moves them to make a decision about renting an apartment. So it protects those investments, grows top line revenue, and it reduces our ability to be reactionary in leasing and looking at advertising, rushing the process, transferring people, all that stuff. But if we can have a constant flow of good demand, and good demand that frictionlessly moves into the buying circle, then we're going to be in a good spot to make income and protect wealth for our investor owners. But, there's a lot involved in knowing what to do. Nothing's perfect. Everything is evolving. But what's not going away is what your customers want. They want to have a frictionless experience. They want to live in an apartment at a fairly priced rent, I'm sure. Some may want luxury, some may want location, experience, all different things for all different people. And you have to be in a spot to be able to deliver for that, right? The technology and all that stuff is going to change. You've seen it already change all over. So anyway, I've gone a little bit over on what I intended on going, but I wanted to just kind of get these thoughts out into the world. Hopefully there's something that was shared here that was unique for you. Maybe you wrote something down. Maybe you learned a little something. I don't know what that is. But stick around. You can go to Contivo.ai or Nectarflow.com and learn about how we can provide ready-to-go AI solutions. If you're in multifamily and you want to be part of a team and a group that is bringing next-level business productivity and efficiency into organizations, you want to identify and be around top-level leaders that actually pay to be part of a membership organization to get clarity and to get progress and to increase the value of not only their business, their career, but the portfolios that they serve. Get involved with the Multifamily Innovation Council. A lot of great things happening with the events. We have the Women's Summit, Investment Summit, we have the Innovation Summit. And we have some exciting things lined up to make sure that you are well equipped to do some great things in multifamily and beyond. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off here, and then we'll see you guys. Maybe if you're watching this on a replay and you have an idea about a topic or session, let us know, and we'll deliver something useful and valuable for you. Until then, I'm going to hang out here for a minute. If you want to stick around, go ahead and drop in the comments saying